Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht, part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me today is my good friend, Jay Smith. We are recording today just because we're going to finish this Reddit mailbag today. Jay, what's up?
Andrew, what's up, man?
Nothing. There's nothing but the playoffs going on, man. Nothing new in the Thunder world.
12 days until the draft lottery, which is the day that we've been waiting for.
Yes.
And then
I finally picked up a gallon of milk that has a date after the draft lottery, and I was like, oh gosh, it's real.
So let me ask you an important question. So I have some friends that are milk purists, and they only drink Brahms milk.
Oh, okay.
Is that your family, or y'all?
No.
Will you do a Highland? Will you do a?
No, we're all over the map, man. We're a mess when it comes to milk. We're an absolute mess.
Yeah, it's, apparently, I don't know, and they can tell a distinction between the taste of it, and I'm like,
who's like? Okay, here's the thing.
Taste testing. They do.
When I have milk, I don't just drink milk. I don't just drink milk myself.
No, you just put it in cereal.
Yeah, put it in cereal, and then I don't know. I don't sit there and like, I'm not like taste testing it like wine or something.
And spit it out into a cup.
I don't do that.
No, it's probably smart, but no, I don't drink milk at all, man. Literally the only milk I get anymore is in cereal or ice cream, and that's it.
Yeah. That's the way it should be.
Adults that drink milk, it's just, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just kind of a specific group of people.
Yeah, I would argue maybe there is something wrong with that. I don't know.
Maybe. If you got cookies, fine. That's fine.
Sure. It must be paired with something. Okay, we're going to dive into some questions here.
So you had 70 the other day, and so you probably got through what, 10?
It felt like that. We went 20 minutes on one question. So we'll try to fire through as many of these as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this question comes from the number 7_7. Say we draft Jalen Green. Yep. Do we have Green or Dort coming off the bench, or possibly start both?
Did y'all talk? I think you talked about this, or I'm losing my mind. I think we have talked about this quite a bit. I know McKelly and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. That's right. I think that with Jalen Green, I think you could bring Dort off the bench. He's just such a specialist, and I know he's broader than just a defensive stopper. Like he's good offensively and doing different things. But I think that for me, what I would say is like, I don't know, you just want developmental minutes for Green, and so I don't know how you kind of work that in the lineup. I don't think they would trade Dort unless you have kind of an opinion on that that's different. But I think you could maybe run Shea, Jalen Green, Dort as your 1 through 3. You're going to be really short, but I mean, Jalen Green's what, 6'5", 6'6"?
Yeah, he's 6'6".
When are y'all doing your dream team analysis of Jalen Green?
In the next week, we'll have Green and Kuminga.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
we did Suggs today.
He's always been somebody that I've been pretty fired up about, Jalen Green. So I think you could do kind of a weird small lineup if you really wanted to go that direction, but you start to squeeze other people out. Where does Bazley fit? If Poku's your starting 4 at that point, like you definitely, I don't think you're going to get real wild and go Poku at the 5 or Bazley at the 5, but maybe in spots. So I think that's where it starts getting a little bit complicated. And there's probably people I'm already missing too that like, well, he probably should be in the starting lineup too. But I don't know. I don't know what you do with that lineup.
I mean, I start Dort. Like you have to just think about like who are the most important players on the team, right? And Dort is one of those guys, I would say. So I think he'd be fine coming off the bench. I mean, you look at the Celtics, and Marcus Smart comes off the bench for them quite a bit. So I think that he'd be malleable in that way, but I'd just rather start him. I think he makes your team better. So, and also
all 3 of them is what I'm.
Yeah. I would.
Jalen Green kind of playing the 3 in some sense, a little short, but I mean it's not crazy.
Or they did it with Harden to start with. Hey, you're going to come off the bench. You're going to be our bench scorer.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't
so maybe you do that.
I don't know if I would utilize the way we use Harden as a way to say how we should handle the next potential
And then when it's time for contract negotiations, offer him something a little less than the max, see if he'll take it. And then if not, trade him for Jeremy Lamb.
Scrap pieces.
Same question. So he asked 2 questions. So here's the second part. Would you prefer an athletic rim running defensive big going forward with this team, or a skilled big that can score in a variety of ways and playmaking for others? I personally love Sengun in the draft, but I have him ranked 8th on my board, but I'm not sure how amazing he fits specifically on this roster.
Number one, well done in creating a big board for yourself.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's intense.
He's kind of a throwback big, and I think I said this on Wednesday. If you have a throwback, if you say the words throwback big, don't draft him in the top 10. Like, I'm just kind of out on that.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I love the big position. Like, I grew up on Shaq. It's the position I played, like all of that. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't. Evan Mobley, maybe. Yeah. But I would, if the Thunder keep 32, 33, or however that lands, I can't remember where that lands. If that's where they are. I think
they're 35.
If you wanted to spend if you wanted to spend one of your picks there on a big, fine, go for it. But I'm all in on wings. Like, get all the wings you can, and then pick up
35, 36 is where they're at.
Okay, 35, 36, and then pick up a center off of, wherever. Like, you can get a center that's a good center they could even potentially land like a free agent that isn't, you're not going to get Joel Embiid when he comes up, but you can get a Noel. Like, they already got a Noel. Like, you could get somebody. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they were stuck in this position, they really need a center right now. They could make, like, if fast forward in this same situation, you can make a move and get a guy like Steven Adams. Like, you could get a guy like Christian Wood. Like, there's a way to get centers whenever you have your roster constructed. So I'm swinging every single wing ball that comes through. Like, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm not drafting a big in the top 10 unless I think that they are transcendent.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't do it. I just don't think it's worth it. I think you can find a serviceable big. So the type of big that I would want, I think this roster is very malleable, and I think it will be very dependent on this next pick, like who they get in this next draft, what kind of player they'd want. But I would still kind of lean towards shooting. So if you can find a player that can shoot it from the big position and isn't a sieve on defense, I like that. Or obviously like a Clint Capella type guy would also be quite helpful.
Yeah.
And Capella was had for very, very little. I mean, the Hawks gave up very little to get him. So it's just, I mean, I'll bet you if they called the Pelicans, Thunder called the Pelicans, said, "Hey, we'd like to have Steven Adams back," they'd probably be like, "Sure,
right,
we can make that happen."
Yeah,
So
that's what it's for me. I think absolutely both. I love the idea of a big that shoots. Like, I actually think Mike Muscala, if he stays, could be a really good center for a few years with this team. Like, just the space, man, it just creates so much. He's not a great defender, but he's serviceable in spots. Like, and I think that's the other thing is if you don't make your center like a primary position on the floor in the sense of what you're paying salary, you could have multiple styles of bigs at the same time, where you have the rim runner, and then you could bring it, it's not quite this, but the Hawks kind of had that with Capella and Okongwu, but
well, I mean, if you're talented on the perimeter, like the Nets are, like, everybody's like, "Oh, what are the Nets going to do with these big guys?" Like, who cares, man? Doesn't matter. They're playing Nick Claxton, who's a guy that they got like later in the draft.
Well, good player. Blake Griffin's playing center for them,
and Blake plays. Like, it just doesn't really matter if you have those other guys.
I didn't. Why'd you have to bring up the Nets, man? Like, I want the Bucks to at least be competitive.
Sorry, man.
Not be beat by 50.
I know. Tonight's a big night for the Bucks.
And they're favored.
That's hilarious, isn't it? Yeesh. Duncan Thor, if somehow the Thunder got 1-5, kept Horford next season, and we had around a 25-15 record, would you be interested in trading future assets to push for the playoffs if Cade looks like the real deal?
I mean, just ride it out for that season. The playoffs aren't the primary priority at that point.
Yeah, I agree. Just let your players develop. Let's see what's going on. Let's really learn more about the other guys. Because if you think that Shea and Cade are the real deal, and you know what Dort is, you still have so much to figure out with who's already on the roster today, even without thinking about who you draft at 5 or who you draft at 35 or maybe you make a trade and get another player. Like, we just don't know who's on there. So I would wait to push any chips in because I guess you trade future picks to get somebody else, but I also don't see, I think Horford probably gets dealt this summer. So I don't know that happens. I still think the primary way they're going to build and the primary way they're going to become a really good team is through the draft. So I think that's where like the focus needs to be, at least for now. Chalupa _Batman 23. If the Thunder did a rebrand, do you think they would change the color scheme like Milwaukee has with each rebrand? And what colors would you choose if you were going to change, if you were in charge of the rebrand? He personally likes the colors that they have just to make a better design.
Yeah, they have, I think Alex was mentioning this, like 7 or 8 colors that are technically part of the design. I'm boring, man. Like, my favorite color design maybe in the NBA is the Nets. Black and white.
Why'd you have to bring up the Nets, Jay?
Them Bucks. But it is like, and I'll be honest, like, I'm the wrong person on the pod to talk about the rebranding because I'm like, I don't really notice anything until Alex. We had this random night where everybody got into it's a feature on your Apple, on your iPhone that you can like draw little things with your fingers, like, and it has. Yeah. And Alex redrew a brand of the Thunder logo, and all of a sudden it finally made sense when y'all made the Doritos references all the time. I was like, oh, there it is. It's the little triangle thing.
Really?
It's the first time.
Wow.
Because it all came out of the conversation, like, how mad would somebody be if, Kyrie stomped on the Thunder logo, and everybody's like, can you even think of the logo or, by memory?
Yeah. Oh, that's
anyway,
awesome.
I
mean,
I don't know.
I mean, if you just did like even just like blue and yellow, like your like primary colors, and you did some kind of rebrand, I always think the bison is always a good something to go off of. Like, you could do a lot of cool stuff, or just lightning bolts in general.
Clouds.
You could do something cool. But I don't.
Yeah, I do like.
I
like
have not heard of anything like that happening.
I like the idea of using the bison. That'd be pretty awesome.
At JJ the Jet Plane 5639. If the Bucks had Lou Dort on their team, would it even make a difference? I think yes. I think it would. Yes.
Why? Why am I talking about this? Here's. I hope that this comes out tomorrow on Friday, and that I feel like an idiot for saying this. I mean, is it crazy? I think they're going to get swept, man.
It's certainly possible. I would bet against it.
I mean, the thing for me that's insane is they've just made the Bucks offense look lost. And if you can't, it just is. Giannis has become like pedestrian out there. It's strange. And the whole thing about the Nets was like, they're going to really struggle to protect the rim. And I'm not even talking metrics, just watching it. It's unwatchable how bad they are.
Yeah.
I sometimes, Hoops Talk 69 said this in the chat. He said that Giannis is one of the most overrated players in the league. And I don't know if I would say that because I don't watch him enough, but watching him in the playoffs the last few years, I've been pretty under-impressed.
Yeah. It's understandable to feel that way. I don't know if I agree. I actually, I don't know. He's very good. He's very, very good.
Yeah. His offensive limitations sometimes it's just, I don't know,
Sure.
and the free throw stuff. And there's just a lot of things that make me go, when I watch him play. And like I said, I confess, like I don't watch him enough to really make an accurate assessment of the course of the year or the course of his career. But just like watching him in the playoffs, I'm like, there's just some, I don't know, it just seems like a struggle. Like offense seems like a struggle to me with him.
Yeah. I mean, when guys can't shoot, you can figure out ways to take them out of the game. Like same thing with Ben Simmons, like every year in the playoffs, like it's easier to take those guys out of the game, but he's still a great player, still two-time MVP, great player. But yeah, he's got to break through in the playoffs somehow. And the truth is, like, he's playing against Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I know that James Harden's out, but still, like, those two are they're both probably better than anybody on the Bucks outside of, I mean, I would put KD over Giannis just because he can actually shoot the basketball.
Yeah. That would be that would be such a big deal for Giannis if he could shoot. If he could, I mean, 35% would be insane, like it just changes everything. He's really, for me, when I watch him play, like he's a center that can dribble and penetrate really well.
Yeah.
Which when he does, like there's some finishes he makes that are just unreal, but sometimes it just is, it feels so clunky, which may be a coaching thing. Like, I don't know if they would change Bud, but it may be a coaching thing where they're not putting him in the greatest place to be successful in the playoffs, at least. Like, obviously he's 2 times MVP and like incredible, but it just gets real bogged down in the playoffs, at least in the Nets game. And then obviously watching the Heat game the Heat series in September.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You kind of wonder if they would have just held onto their chips and not traded for Jrue Holiday, if they could have done that deal for James Harden. And I know that they haven't been best of buds through the years and that they've had some beef going back and forth through the years, but I think you could squash that beef pretty quick, and those two would be formidable. Can you imagine a Giannis Harden pick and roll? I mean, that would be
unstoppable. So maybe it is. I mean, maybe that's what's the tall shot. He's actually a friend of mine. He mentioned like some of it could also be running up against the buzzsaw that is the Nets going forward, and I agree with some of that. The thing is Harden being injured is one of the things that makes me. Like I thought, hey, the Bucks have an advantage, like should have an advantage because obviously it's Kyrie and Kevin Durant, but then you get beyond the roster and it's pretty limited. And part of that is like Blake Griffin, the game one, if it wasn't for Blake going absolutely insane, the Bucks might have a shot to win that one, or at least they're staying in it quite a bit later. But I don't know. You just really hoped with Jrue Holiday coming on, and even the whatever PJ Tucker is. I just was hoping for more out of the Bucks. And like part of that is a personal thing. Like I really would love for the Bucks to come back and win this series. It would be incredible.
Be great.
They're just not seeing the same production they were against the Heat, which some of that's to do with the Nets and some of it may just be off nights. Like that's also a potential.
Yeah. And we learned, the Dallas Clippers series, like 2 games, like it's not over. The series isn't over.
Right.
So we'll see. We will see. Okay. King of the Puddle says at the draft party, there will be a live Rocket Reddit stream. Should they fall to 5? I feel that could really add to the atmosphere. It's a good idea. I could throw their Reddit page up on a screen or something.
Can you figure that out?
It'd be, I don't want to talk about it. I feel like it's gonna jinx us. 12 King of the Puddle also asks, with all the talk of Lillard being moved, which stars do you see realistically on the move this offseason?
I mean, the Kemba thing feels pretty real. I don't know. The Trailblazers.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to do something. I don't know what it is. A lot of people are kind of on them for not making any moves in the past, but I just don't know what there was to do. Because I think that they probably have looked at CJ McCollum trades and they're like, okay, great, let's make a CJ McCollum trade. Well, what's there? Nothing that makes us better. Okay, well then let's not trade him. I feel like that's probably been the type of conversations that have happened through the years. So there's something there.
And it'll be intriguing to see what happens with the Clippers. Like, depending on how the series goes with the Jazz, like, are they going to do anything? My projection or prediction for them is they're probably going to stand pat, maybe try to add some peripheral pieces.
Yeah, probably so.
But
That would be to me, that's the right move to do, is to just try to run it back again. I think eventually, I don't think that team gets over the hump. Maybe they do. Maybe they beat the Jazz and go to the finals. I don't know.
Yeah, ownership doesn't seem to be the kind of ownership that would just be okay with standing pat if you're not successful.
Yeah. I think that's right. But also, I don't know if you can upgrade. I mean, they made all the moves they can. They've used every asset possible to get the team they have.
Right.
Asks, can you give us 5 buy low, trade, or free agent targets, reclamation projects, take a flyer on for reasonably cheap or not? We have cap space. This is outside of Andrew's in-season wish for Mobamba. So
you mentioned and shot down Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a reclamation project. So
I am pretty intrigued about the potential of a reclamation project with Porzingis.
Yeah, definitely. I think that makes some sense if you get him via trade, and Markkanen via trade too.
What about Lonzo Ball?
I don't know if he's a reclamation project. I think he kind of just is.
Yeah.
I think more like talking about reclamation projects. I mean, if you can get Zach Collins and bring him in, a lot of that's injury related, but perhaps OKC's staff could do something with him. And to me, that's definitely one that I would be interested in, just because I liked him at the draft. I think he's got a lot of potential. So that's one that I would take a shot at. And if he's not healthy, you probably wouldn't give him anything longer than 3 years anyways. So that doesn't really matter. I've always been intrigued with Frank Ntilikina. I don't think the Knicks are going to pay him. And not necessarily that he's something that the Thunder need, but still, to me, it's worth a look, certainly.
In the same vein, what about Dante Exum?
Yeah, I mean, Dante Exum is going to be a free agent. Again, struggle with injuries. It's kind of hard to know really what he is as a pro. But yeah, I mean, long, athletic, can handle, not really much of a shooter. But yeah, I mean, why not? DJ Wilson, who is now with Houston, is a restricted free agent. Guys like that, like nothing that's there's like true reclamation projects in that. Probably every name that I said, you're like not excited about.
Right. So, Dennis Smith Jr., Malik Monk.
Yeah, Dennis Smith has bounced around a lot, but still, like lottery pick. Isak Bonga out of Washington. Scott Brooks just never played Isak Bonga. Another non-shooter, which is why he didn't play. But to me,
what about like a Harry Giles?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for somebody, if you're just like, yeah, we're done with Moses Brown, right? Like, sure, if you're like, yeah, we've seen everything we need to see from Moses Brown, then like, yeah, fine, bring him in.
Stay silent.
Big Mike NZ says Kevin Knox. Sure. Presty loves that team, loves that Kentucky team. Anyways, we're gonna collect them all. Hoopstock69 says Zach Collins is the worst. Has he ever even played? Poor guy, just keeps getting hurt, man.
Yeah, Nate Sanders just said Jarrett Culver. I mean, I think that's
Jarrett Culver's another one.
The Wolves want to do with him.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm maybe the only person on the pod, but I would take a shot on Bagley too. That's what Hoopstock69 just said.
I don't know if I would. There's just too much off the court stuff that just makes you just like, ugh, like, I don't know. I don't know about that. Culver, I think you can get for very cheap.
Yeah.
I don't think the Wolves will want a lot out of that one.
You can give the Wolves back their second rounder for this year that we got from the Warriors for Jarrett Culver.
That might be too much even.
Really? They have back-to-back picks.
I know, it might be too much. Yikes. Okay, let's see.
All right, rapid fire. Here we go.
What would a Mitchich trade to the Bulls look like? Anything on Chicago you want?
We don't even know contract details with Mitchell, do we? I guess it doesn't really matter that much.
It doesn't really matter that much.
You think they would give us Patrick Williams?
No. What on their roster do you like outside? Like the marketing thing is, yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's not really a lot there, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm like looking up their roster right now, and I'm like, oh.
I would rather have a future pick than anything they have on there.
Really. I don't, man. I know I'm probably super short-sighted for this, but like, why not give that dude a shot? Like Mitchich, like see what if.
Oh, I would rather have him on the roster.
Okay, all right.
I just don't know if that's what his agent wants, which is could be the holdup. Let's see. Okay, Gizo 100. Hypothetical moral question: if Adam Silver came to you and said that he was prepared to cheat and rig the lottery so the Thunder got the 1st and 5th picks and no one would find out, he just needed you to give the okay, would you do it?
What? Like, I just couldn't tell anybody that it was rigged, but he told me.
All you have to do is say it's okay. Go for it. Rig it.
Okay, this is like a real deep integrity question.
It is. It's a moral question. That's what he said.
So I'll let you answer it since I'm supposed to say no. I wouldn't do it.
Gosh, it hangs heavy, doesn't it?
No, I mean,
I would say yes because all the other lotteries have been rigged anyways.
Thank you. Exactly. LeBron going to Cleveland. Come on.
This is all rigged anyways, so why don't we rig it?
Zion going to the Pelicans the year that they lose Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Come on, Adam.
Would you rather have 2 and 5 or 3 and 4?
Oh, this question in perpetuity until next in 2 Tuesdays. So would you say 2 and 4 or 3 and 5? What was the question?
2 and 5 or 3 and 4? Give me 2 and 5. Give me 2 and 5.
Nah, I'd take 3 and 4.
I want the choice. I
understand, but I
want my guy.
I think for you, my bet is 1-2's Cade Mobley, which means you could have Jalen Green and.
If that's true, then I would take 3 and 4. If that's true, then I would take 3 and 4. If Mobley for sure goes 2, I would take 3 and 4.
I don't want Mobley. Is that an unpopular opinion?
It's not that. I wouldn't say I don't want him. I just wouldn't take him at 2. That's all.
Yeah.
I want him, just not at 2.
Cool.
Let's see. Curious _bear _55. Do you think Presti talks to players the way he talks to the media? If so, which present or former player would you most want to watch have a conversation with Presti? I can't help but imagine McGarry pondering development is a process, not an event.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Good. I can't imagine that he doesn't talk like that to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the way he talks all the time. It's hard to know. It's hard to know if he is.
It is hard to know.
But it's a really funny question. Okay, let's rapid fire as many of these as we can. We're going to keep this a little bit short today. If the Rockets get the number 1 pick, would they trade it to get all their stuff back? OKC plus our 2021 picks. Would OKC do it? Would it matter if OKC took Wall or Gordon as well? I feel like Houston is the only team that would realistically part with the number 1 pick. That's really interesting. You just call them and say, hey, we'll give you all your stuff back. And you can have 4. You know, we have 4 and you know, you can have it. You can have all your stuff back.
Maybe
they would. Probably not. I think they'll probably just say, "Yeah, we have to actually." Have
the number 1 pick gets traded like once in a lifetime, kind of thing.
Miguel Davila asked about Kristaps Porzingis. Would you take a flyer on him if it's possible? Sure. If they get the guy they want in the draft, sure. Let's see. Lots of would you rather have this pick or that pick? Would you rather have this or that? Stinson says, hey guys, longtime fan of the pod, so happy for your success. Number one, if we got one of the top guards in the draft, would you rather see them pursue a trade for OG or Siakam, pursue a trade for Sabonis, or look for another trade, or try to be bad for another year? I would try to be bad for another year.
Yeah.
What about you, Jay?
Yep. I mean, they're not going to try to be bad. They're going to play the guys they have, but probably by just the reality of the rosters, they will be bad.
Mm-hmm. Davis Robbie, if the Thunder got the number one pick, what players would you be willing to trade Shea for and that pick for? Shea and that pick for? Oh, gosh. Is there anybody that you would trade Shea and the number one pick for?
From this year?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Like in the NBA. Let's say the Thunder had number and like you could trade.
Sure. Doncic, Zion Williamson. Yeah.
Would you trade Luka?
Yeah.
You would do it for Luka?
I just trailed off of this. And, yeah. I just think Luka is like, I think there's problems. Like I kind of sent this in a text thread. I think the Mavericks have to do a way better job of creating a roster around Luka. I mean, that's pretty clear. Mm-hmm. It's not. I'm not earth shattered. Wow, Jay, first person to ever say that. But I do think that there's some limitations with the roster that is centered around Luka. He reminds me a ton of Harden, but I think he's. I mean, if you could get a James Harden for a pick and a guy that you know. A guy that you don't know and a guy that you know, like I think you do that 9 times out of 10. Luka's 3 years in, man, and he's going to continue to grow. Luka, Zion Williamson, and then
I would not do it for Zion.
Oh man,
I'd have to really think hard about it for Luka.
Are you that high on Shea or are you that high on the draft?
I'm that high on Shea.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'd like Shea, but I think Alex is the one that said it the last time you were on the pod, is like both of those guys are doing things you've rarely ever seen before. And Shea's just not there yet.
Yeah. I just think like the combination of Shea plus a high draft pick. I don't know.
Yeah, that's valid. That is valid. I didn't really take the,
because Dallas is proving like you still need more than just Luka. You know?
Yeah. And he's not.
Then you have to like really hope that Poku becomes something.
Yeah. And the other thing is you're still depending on like how magnetic is Doncic as a player. Like, is he going to be able to draw people to Oklahoma City to play with him? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Do I trust Sam to be able to create something around him? Sure. But that's, I mean, anyway, it still kind of limits it.
Mm-hmm.
Good call.
Hefty _complex _9610. If you had to put on your GM cap, what would be a realistic trade for Colin Sexton? Heard he's on the market and could be good to pair with Shea, especially if you can land.
I don't want Colin Sexton
or Kuminga. Me neither. DFRMR. Sorry. Make John Collins an offer? No. Exact Warlord. If we get the 2nd and the 5th picks, who would you take? Personally, I like the idea of Mobley and Barnes, defensive front court. But I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that. I like the idea of Scotty Barnes. 2 and 5, you're going to skip either Kuminga, Green. It would be hard for me if Kuminga is there not to pull the trigger on him. I don't know if I'd take Scotty Barnes over Kuminga, but just the physicality of Kuminga is just incredible. And I follow one of the shooting coaches on Instagram, and he showing just clips, and it's clips of highlights and gems, which, you can take or leave most of that. But I mean, he's obviously working on his shooting, and physically he is absolutely what you want. He may be 30 years old. Yeah. We don't know. That is a rumor. But if he is around what we think he is,
that's so weird.
I think I don't know. It'd be hard to pass up on him for a guy like Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, I would take Suggs and Kuminga.
I mean, you're pretty ready.
Yeah. Spirit Law, our last question. In your opinion, where does SGA land in terms of the best players in the league in the next 5 years? Top 20, top 10? I personally think he'll be a top 10 guy in the league in a few years.
I mean, top 10 is hard. Like if you just went through the list of who's top 10 right now, you're talking like the best of the best. I think Shea could be top 15. Like, I don't think it's crazy to think that easily top 20.
Yeah.
There are moments this
so.
season watching him where I just like, you step back and you're like, this dude is a legit superstar potential. Which goes back to me like trading him with the number 1 pick for somebody anyway, but he's amazing.
He's definitely a top 10 player. Yeah. Well, the thing is though, I mean, it's not what you said is not invalid because Luka is likely going to be a top 3 player in this league for a long time. And so the difference between the 12th best player in the league and the 3rd best player in the league is typically huge. There's a gulf there between those two. So it's not invalid to say that. And maybe my answer was a dumb answer that I'd rather have the idea of both of those guys. But it's difficult. It's Sam and his staff have a really difficult job to do, and figuring out who these guys are, making the right decisions. It's not easy. There's nothing that's set in stone with any of these guys. So, but yeah, I think Shea's really good. I think he's better than anybody expected. So yeah,
wait till you all see Poku come back next year, and
he's going to be ripped. He's going to be dunking on everybody. Gosh, I can't wait to watch Poku play basketball again. It's going to be so great. Gosh, I hope he plays in Summer League. He's got to play in Summer League, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Said he's back. I bet you he's already back here hooping, which is really fun to think about. All right, that'll be it for today. Thanks for joining. This will be our Fry Pod. So enjoy it. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you guys again on Monday.
Just me. I'm leaving.